Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Chris Witts and today we're down at Sharpness to look at the end of the Gloucester Sharpness Canal, where it terminated here out into the Severn before they built the new dock at Sharpness 150 years ago. I got behind me is the Severn, and this way we've got the end of the canal with the tidal basin. So we'll see more about that in a minute. So meanwhile, sit back and enjoy. The River Severn may be Britain's longest river, with the second highest rise and fall of tide in the world. Yet it has always been difficult to sail vessels on its lower reaches to the city of Gloucester. Thus, in 1793, plans were agreed to build a large canal from the city to bypass the treacherous reaches of the Severn. By 1812, the dock basin at Gloucester and the lock linking both Severn and basin were completed. But legal wranglings delayed completion of the canal. Eventually, 34 years after plans were agreed, the canal was completed, terminating at Sharpness. On the 26th of April of 1827, the canal was officially opened, with the schooner Meredith in the tidal basin loaded with a cargo of brandy from France, ready to sail to Gloucester. It has to be emphasised that with the opening of the canal, Sharpness was not a dock. The end of the canal was simply a tidal basin and lock out into the River Severn. We also have to remember that this was the days of sail, and the Severn with its strong tides made it extremely difficult to get ships from the river into the lock. As we said before, that's the tidal basin, and here we have the lock gates, which were closed across, as is when we walk over this very new bridge, and that was the inner lock, and ships would come in through the entrance over there into the basin. They would close those gates at high water, and the ships would wait to go through these locks and on up the canal to Gloucester. There were two locks, and obviously they filled this bit in so you can walk across, but this is where it went out into the canal, just here. Here we have a lock gate at the other end of the lock. That's all what was holding all the water back from the canal, from escaping into the tidal basin and the river if something went wrong. But I believe it all worked quite efficient. By the late 1860s, it was realised that ships were becoming larger and the tidal basin was being clogged with ships waiting to travel to Gloucester. Plans were proposed to build a new dock close to the canal, and so it was that Sharpness New Docks opened in 1874. At the far end of the new dock, the existing canal was rebuilt to run into the dock basin, thus making the original load entrance redundant. In 1939, the 1883 built sailing ship Vindicatrix was towed to Sharpness and moored in what is now known as the barge arm, the redundant length of the canal to the lock. This was the new National Sea Training School for merchant seamen and catering staff. During the 28 years that the school was here, over 70,000 young lads were trained. The Vindicatrix was towed away in 1967 to be scrapped at Newport. This is where the lads from the Merchant Navy Training School at Sharpness will come through, and all through that foliage was their camp. Totally overgrown today and hardly recognisable as where all these lads trained to be a merchant seaman. Today, the old dock house has a different lease of life. In 1986, the Severn Area Rescue Association, or SARA for short, opened their second lifeboat station here at Sharpness. SARA is the largest independent lifeboat service in the UK. During the 1920s, oil was carried in small tankers, trading as far down the Bristol Channel to Swansea and bringing oil back to Gloucester and upriver to Worcester and Stourport. The rule stated that those carrying petrol had to lie overnight in the barge arm. With the closure of this trade in the early 1970s, the barge arm has become a marina for small boats. The lock has been sealed shut to vessels, so all craft can only exit into the Severn either from the new dock or by Gloucester Lock. Well, that's the end of my story on this section of the canal. Next time we'll do the section from the new dock, Sharpness, up to the Purton Bridges. Now, it's been an interesting walk, and hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching my film. If you liked it, why not subscribe to my channel and hit the like button. Meanwhile, I look forward to meeting you all again next week with a new film for you to enjoy. Bye!